Critical Path Analysis (CPA) is a project management technique that requires mapping out every key task that is necessary to complete a project. It includes identifying the amount of time necessary to finish each activity and the dependencies of each activity on any others. Today, we will tell you everything about critical path analysis. How critical path analysis works. In the late 1950s, James Kelly of Remington Rand and Morgan Walker of DuPont developed a project management technique called the Critical Path Method, or CPM. Earlier versions of their technique were being practiced before then and are said to have contributed to the completion of the Manhattan Project, the secret American defense program to build an atomic bomb in order to end World War II. Since then, CPA has become a key component in planning and managing projects rationally. Critical path analysis identifies the sequence of crucial and interdependent steps that comprise a work plan from start to finish. It also identifies non-critical tasks. These may also be important, but if they hit an unexpected snag, they will not hold up any other tasks and thus jeopardize the execution of the entire project. The concept of a critical path recognizes that completion of some tasks in a project is dependent on the completion of other tasks. Some activities cannot start until others are finished. Inevitably, that presents the risk of bottlenecks. CPA is used widely in industries devoted to extremely complex projects, from aerospace and defense to construction and product development. 9. How to use CPA. CPA detects and defines all of the critical and non-critical tasks involved in a work plan and identifies both the minimum and the maximum amount of time associated with each. It also notes those dependencies among activities, and that tells them the amount of float or slack time that can be associated with each in order to arrive at a reasonable overall deadline date. The project plan must be tracked through the course of a project to make sure every task is on track and no adjustments need to be made. The timeline in a CPA is often expressed as a Gantt chart, a type of bar chart that is designed to illustrate the key dependencies in a complex project. CPA is used widely in industries devoted to extremely complex projects, from aerospace and defense to construction and product development. Today, project scheduling software is used to automatically calculate dates. 8. Elements of critical path plans. Here's a list of elements that a critical path plan includes. Critical path. Critical paths are tasks that the project progresses through before moving to another stage. Each task both depends on and influences other tasks, so it's necessary the project manager completes them in an exact sequence. For this reason, the duration of the critical path is the shortest possible time you can complete a project. For example, in a construction project, laying the building's foundation, building its walls, and installing the roof form a critical path. Non-critical path. Non-critical paths consist of a task that don't strictly follow a sequence. While these processes may be equally important, employees can complete them independently of other tasks. The project team can complete tasks in a non-critical path at any time during the project. Also, they can run non-critical tasks simultaneously with tasks in the critical path. As a result, the non-critical path doesn't have a major impact on the project's duration. For example, building the fence and purchasing water tanks in a construction project are tasks in a non-critical path. Float. The float refers to the duration by which you can delay the completion of a task without jeopardizing the delivery time of the whole project. It depends on the amount of time you have within the critical path to complete tasks from the non-critical path. The critical path has no float, as all tasks within it depend on each other for commencement. In contrast, as you can do non-critical tasks simultaneously with critical ones, they don't need a separate timeline. The float is an essential part of determining the fastest possible way to complete a project. How to analyze a critical path. Here's an overview of steps you can follow to analyze a critical path. 7. List all the tasks the project entails. The first step is to categorize your project into smaller tasks. Then, ensure you create a comprehensive list of each task you require to complete the project. There are generally two types of tasks, either sequential and parallel tasks. Sequential tasks require you to complete a previous task before you can begin them. These tasks form the critical path of a project. In contrast, parallel tasks are independent of other tasks. They form the non-critical path of the project. Listing all your tasks can help you arrange and prioritize them properly. 6. Assign a letter to each task. To create a critical path chart, you need ways to identify each task. To make that easier, you can assign a letter to each task. Letters are preferable as the chart already uses numbers to represent time durations. Letters also allow you to create a neater chart with little text. You can name the tasks with any letter you want, but it's better to follow an order that's easy to remember. For example, if each task starts with a different letter, you can use their first letters. Otherwise, you can consider following the alphabetical order from top to bottom. 5. Include the duration for each task. The next step is to determine the duration of each task. This detail is essential for creating a table and calculating your critical path. Ensure you leave sufficient time for each task so your analysis is accurate. You can inquire from the team or unit working on the tasks directly to know the time they need. Also, ensure you make some provisions for unforeseen circumstances to avoid defaulting on your promised delivery time. 4. Identify the sequential tasks. Next, identify the sequential tasks on your table. These are the tasks that form the critical path and determine the least possible project completion time. After determining the sequential tasks, create a column beside each task and include the letter of its predecessor. In the example below, you can see that Task B, which is product design, depends on completing Task A, market research. That makes Task A the predecessor of Task B. By identifying your sequential task, you can determine critical points of the project. Example: Task ID, description, predecessors, duration. A. Market research, 2 months. B. Product design. A. 4 months. C. Development of prototype. B. 2 months. D. Contract suppliers for materials. C. 2 months. E. Manufacture product. D. 3 months. F. Design marketing strategy. C. 1 month. G. Launch promotion. F. 1 month. H. Launch product. E. 1 month. 3. Identify the critical path. You can identify the critical path after determining the sequential events and assigning each task to its predecessor. The critical path is the series of dependent tasks that have the longest duration. From our example, tasks A, B, C, D, E, and H all follow a clear sequence and depend on the previous task, making them the critical path. 2. Chart the path. After outlining your project with a table, you can chart your critical path. This makes it easier to visualize the project for yourself or a supervisor. There are 2 main charts you can use for charting your critical path plan, including PERT diagram. PERT, Project Evaluation Review Technique, is a tool that shows the relationship between tasks in a project. The chart uses nodes, which may be circles or rectangles, to represent each task. Each node has an arrow connecting it to its predecessor and successor task. The PERT chart also includes the duration of each project. It's an effective tool for visualizing complex projects with many overlapping components. There are various terminologies you may encounter while using a PERT chart, including fast tracking. This occurs when the project team performs 2 tasks simultaneously. To save time on projects, teams can perform non-critical and critical tasks simultaneously. PERT event. This occurs when the project team starts or completes 1 or more tasks. It symbolizes progress in the project. Predecessor event. This is an event that occurs immediately before another one. It may be essential you complete them before moving to the next one. Successor events. These occur after another event's completion. They depend on their predecessor for commencement. Slack. This is the amount of time you can afford to delay a task without delaying the whole project. Crashing critical path. This occurs when the team completes a task faster than expected. It also occurs when external factors shorten a task's duration. Optimistic time. This is the amount of time it takes to complete a task. This time relies on the best possible scenario. Pessimistic time. This is the longest possible time it takes to complete a task. It's based on the worst-case scenario. Most likely time. This is a realistic estimation of the duration of a task. This time assumes no unforeseen circumstances arise. Expected time. This is a realistic estimation of the project's duration. The expected time accounts for potential problems arising. Gantt chart. The Gantt chart is another popular project management tool for visualizing a project. The chart comprises different bars representing each task in the project, and its axis includes the project timeline. A bar starts when a task begins and ends when it stops. 1. Advantages of critical path method. Here are some advantages of using the critical path method. Easy monitoring. The critical path method makes it easy for the project manager to monitor its progress. Define tasks. It serves as a reliable tool for defining tasks and assigning them to various units. Motivate the team. The clarity a critical path chart provides can motivate the team. Easy planning. It aids project planning by making it easy to identify critical points and areas of delay. Easy reporting. The project manager can use their critical path chart to provide comprehensive reports to supervisors. Do let us know in the comments if you got the concept of CPA. Thanks for watching.